to you, viewers of Sunrise TV. We are all 7 minutes after 2 p.m. Of course, this is the biggest TV in Western. My name is Senior Geroh, the host of the show. This is the Sports Desk Show, live here on Sunrise TV. Whatever you're catching the airwaves, you could be in Mbarara, you could be in Kampala, you could be in Somalia, those who are catching us from DR Congo, I would like to say thank you so much for being part of the biggest TV in Arua City. Of course, in the world of sports, so many stories that I will be talking about. The biggest one is the zonals that's currently going on in Pakwati. As I talk, the final is already underway between Young Savannah and Yahoma. The game is being played at the Omas Primary School Playground. The field that belongs to Team Pakwat Young Stars. That's where the final is being played in. I was just been talking to Fred Senior, the PRO for Western Region. He has confirmed to me that the game is currently underway. As I talk, the games are going on in Pakwat District. But before I go further, in the world of transfers, the biggest one is Morgan Rogers, who is attracting interest in a number of teams. Manchester United is talking about him, Liverpool is talking about him, Team Paris Saint-Germain is talking about him, not forgetting Real Madrid. And at Real Madrid, the new manager, I'm talking about Jose Felix Mourinho, said there's nothing that Real Madrid is going to be doing in the transfer market. Spending big is not going to be his priority. He wants the team to do what we call sign players who are ready to work for the team, who are ready to win trophies with the team, and who are ready to fight for the buzz, and players who are having what we call a minimal ego. That's according to Jose Felix Mourinho. Okay, but first things first, let's first start here at home. Before I go further, my name is Senior Geroh, the host over the show. Let's begin from here and we talk about the teams that have already qualified for the Nagake zone games that will be played 2026-2027 season in the regional league. Of course, 4 teams are already been promoted. Once you reach into the semi-finals of the main zonal league that's currently going in Pakwat district, I can tell you, you already been guaranteed a spot in what we call the regional league in that manner. So the teams that have qualified through in the Western Regional League next season include Owilo Soccer Club. This is a team that comes from Pakwat District. We do have got a team in the shape of Yohana, also that comes from Pakwat in there. And then we do have got Young Savannah that comes from Nebi District. Only one team from Nebi District and then 2 teams in Pakwat District. And then Young Spars. This is a team that is also vying so much from Madokoro District. Of course, this is something that we shall be much talking about. No team in Arua District, no team in Arua City. That is a statement of each one. Of course, as we are broadcasting to you this live, we are currently in Arua City, and it's kind of so much sad to see that no team has qualified from the DFA of Arua in that particular moment. Of course, when you look at the team that actually reached the quarterfinals, yesterday, the quarterfinals were played yesterday, and in that perspective, Pakwat Mission Stars were beaten 2-0 by that team. I'm talking about Young Savannah. In that perspective, then Okuma played out a 0-0 draw yesterday with Owilo, and then Owilo had to beat them by 5-3 in penalty shootouts. That was yesterday. And then Young Spars played out a 2-2 draw with the Mission Foundation that comes from Arua, a team that currently plays in the 5th division league games here in Nero City, and then the team comes from Pajulisai, and the team played out a 2-2 draw yesterday against Young Spars, and in that game the team had to go into penalty shootouts, and then Young Spars had to beat them by 7-6. Hey! This was massive. I can tell you, you may think it's Arsenal that played against PSG in the UEFA Champions League. A number of goals were scored in the, and then Young Savannah, I mean, not Young Savannah SSS, but Yohana were 1-0 winners over Day Stars. All the Arua teams were eliminated in the quarterfinals. Day Stars and Miso Foundation, they never went all that far in actually that perspective. So the team that actually reached into the semi-finals were played today. As I give you the result. Of course, Owilo Soccer Club played out a 0-0 draw with Yohana, and Yohana had to beat them by 7-6 on penalties. Then Young Savannah played out into a 0-0 draw with Odivilla Spurs. Of course, the semi-finals games, 90 minutes, all ended in all square 0-0. So the teams had to win it into penalties, and then as I said, Young Savannah played into a 0-0 draw with Villa Sport, and then Young Savannah had to beat what the team I'm talking about, Villa, in penalty shootouts. And then the final was played today between Young Savannah, that will be playing against Johanna. As I talk, the games are currently ongoing in Pakwasi district, in what we call Omas Stadium down in Pakwasi, the hottest district in West Nile. Of course, it's Pakwasi, Jumane. These are the hottest districts in West Nile. This is where the final is played. So tomorrow, when I will be here in the morning by 9, I'll be confirming to you which team has been crowned the champions of the West Nile Nagakizon main zonal league champions. Of course, the team that wins that has to play the team that will be winning what we call the Nile zone main zonal league. The team that wins there will have to come and face the team that wins the Nagakizon to find who is the champions in that perspective. Of course, this is going to be a big boost in case Team Pakwasi Young Stars make their way through into the big league. Of course, we all know Pakwasi Young Stars were the champions of the Western Regional League, and it remains to be seen how the team will be making their amends. Of course, they are still waiting for the team that will be coming from Northern Uganda. The other day, I was talking to Abel Ogwang. He told me that the regional league currently in Northern Uganda is still ongoing, so there is no confirmed team that will be facing Pakwasi Young Stars in that perspective. So Pakwasi Young Stars is just painting the team that will be coming from Northern Uganda to see who makes their way through into the big league come next season. That's what I can tell you about some of the updates local in here. Of course, the Tottenham Ghana Premier League came to an end. The big league is now the next on the agenda. There were no games over the weekend in there, but I can confirm to you the big league games will return on the 7th of June 2026 with different venues being allocated for these games. Of course, it's the last game for the big league 2026-2025 season. Of course, when you look at the upcoming game that will be coming in the big league over the weekend on Sunday, we shall be seen on Tupac Football Club. Before I talk about that game, let me take you through some of the factors that will be coming out through over the weekend. Of course, Bunyarunguru United, a separate package, will be entertaining Karo Karunji. This game will be at 4 p.m. All the games are at 4 p.m. Mark it well. All the games are at 4 p.m. Bunyarunguru United will be playing against Karo Karunji at 4 p.m. Then Nebusendu Football Club will be playing against Paida Black Angels at Luo Grounds. This is going to be a cracking fixture, a derby of its own. Two derbies in the final stages of the West Nile. Not West Nile, as the football big league comes to its climax. In there, of course, Nebsendro will be entertaining putting by the Black Angels at Luo Grounds at 4 p.m. Then Chinda Boys will be entertaining and Tukasazi. This game is going to be a derby at Bithum City Grounds. This is going to be one of the biggest games down in Kampala. On Tupraka at Abbey United, they will be entertaining the team I'm talking about, Team Paida Black. Not Paida Black Angels, but Team Blast Power. Of course, Blast Power are the current table leaders in the big league. If Team Paida, Blast Power comes here and probably picks a draw, they will be crowned the champions of the 2025-2026 big league this season. Okay, Chige's Homeboys will be entertaining Katida. This game will be played at Madina Primary School Playgrounds. Then Sortiro Bright Stars will be playing against Kathaka. This game will be played at Maroon Stadium down in Luzira. Then we shall be having Young Elephants at Nyoya. They will be entertaining the team I'm talking about, Wakiso Giants, already a relegated side. In my own view, this game will be played at Elephant Park down in Noya. Mbari Heroes will be entertaining Iganga United at Mbari City Stadium. This is going to be one of the biggest one in that specific. I don't want to talk about other teams, but let me first talk about the game that Ontubraka will be playing against Blast Power. this is going to be a decisive game for Ondupraka Football Club. But before I talk about that game, let me first take you through the current table standings in the big league, and you have to know the stand of your team. Okay, at the top of the table is Team Blast Power, who are currently having 54 points, 3 points ahead of Chige's Homeboys. They only needed a draw in that game that they'll be playing against Ondupraka Football. If the team can be important to pick a draw, definitely the team will be crowned champion. So what they have to do is just come here and avoid a defeat to Ondupraka, and they will be seeing Team Blast Power being crowned the champions of the big league 2025-26 season. And then Chige's Homeboys are second with 51 points. Then Tugasazi have 50 points. Then Kataka are fourth on the log with 48 points. Paida Black Angels are fifth on the log with 47 points. Bunarunguru United, a star players package, a team that comes from the Rindori regions. They are sixth on the log. They have 43 points. Chinda Boys are seventh on the log. They have got what they call 40 points. Young Elephants from northern Uganda, particularly from Lira, they have got 40 points. And then Eganga United, the ninth on the log, they have got 35 points. Ondupraka are 10th on the log. They have got what we call 35 points in that perspective. These are some of the things that are currently happening in there. And then 11th on the log is Nebi Central. They have got 34 points. 12th is Katida. They have 34 points as such. And then Karo Karunji, they are 13th on the log with 33 points. Soltiro Bright Stars, they have 32 points. Wakto Giants have what we call 31 points. Then Bala Heroes, already a relegated side, have got 17 points. So let me take you a look at here. Wakto Giants, Soltiro Bright Stars, Karo Karunji, Katida, Nebi Central, and Ondupraka Football Club. If any of these teams don't win the games, definitely one of them will get relegated. For Ondupraka Football Club, they need also a draw in that game that they'll be playing against Blast Power here on Sunday. If Ondupraka avoids defeat to Team Blast Power, definitely you'll be seeing Ondupraka surviving what we call that relegation in that perspective. But what I know is that Ondupraka is good when it comes to the final series of some of these games in that perspective. They are good in that. And Team Blast Power, they are desperately in need of this actual trophy. Remember when they attained promotion back to the Southern Uganda Premier League way back, they were also crowned the champions. So they may want to win this for the second time. I'm talking about the team Blast Power. Abel, the PRO, the other day when I was talking to him, he said the mood at Lira is kind of very, very much. Of course, the people from Lira are planning to storm Arua in numbers. I'm told the price tag in Lira for them to come to Arua to and fro is only 26. That's very minimal. 26 to and fro. So if you're watching us live from Lira, I can tell you what you have to do is find the services of Abel Ogwang, your PRO, and you'll be sorted in that perspective, and you'll be coming to Arua, particularly in West Nile, and you'll be having the access to go and watch games at Abel Great System. This is going to be a decisive game. Of course, to me, the team that needs this game more is Ondupraka Football Club, because they are fighting so hard to see that they avoid the relegation, and the team Blast Power, they also fighting hard to see that they avoid defeat to Ondupraka Football Club, to see that they also win what we call the big league crown in there. So it remains to be seen what is going to be happening over the weekend on Sunday. All these games are going to be on Sunday at 4 p.m. Okay, let's leave that and talk about some of the international stories before I call it a quit. Of course, I have got a number of the stories that are prepared in here. Before I talk about Liverpool, let's first begin from Real Madrid. Of course, their new manager, I'm talking about Jose Felix Mourinho, did say that they are going to be so much serious in the transfer market, and they are not going to be signing big name players. This actual story was revealed by Fabrizio Romano, one of the authentic journalists in Europe. He said Team Real Madrid is not going to be signing players on Bosman rule. They are going to be signing players who have got that ego to play for the Birds. The players who are going to be so workaholic, the players who are going to be physical for the team. Real Madrid itself, of course, Jose Felix Mourinho, he doesn't want players who are kind of very, very lazy. He wants physical players, and he wants players who are very, very workaholic enough. So he wants to see Real Madrid at the top of its apex. Of course, Real Madrid is known of winning trophies trophies like Champions League, trophies like the Spanish La Liga, the Super Cup of this world, the Copa del Rey of this world. That is what Jose Felix Mourinho wants to see at Real Madrid. Of course, at Barcelona, they were recently being crowned the champions of La Liga, and they want to overpower Team Real Madrid. So, Mourinho thinks when he comes in, he will be a very, very great addition into the books of Real Madrid. Of course, he wants to win more trophies. Of course, he was one of the most successful managers at Real Madrid. He has won a number of trophies for them. He has won the La Liga Cup with Real Madrid. He has won the Champions League with Real Madrid. So he wants to win more with Real Madrid. That's Jose Felix Mourinho. That's why he is saying he wants to sign players who are ready to work for the team itself. So we shall be waiting to see how this will be important to transform Real Madrid into some actual height. Of course, Real Madrid has kind of invested much into the transfer market, signing in a number of players, the likes of Kylian Mbappe into the book, and then the likes of Gonzalez. They are into that theme of Real Madrid. So it remains to be seen how the team will be performing in that perspective. So Liverpool, after signing, after sacking their head coach, I'm talking about Ancelotti, the Dutchman, they are already into the markets looking for his successor. So it remains to be who Liverpool will be signing in to replace sacked coach. I'm talking about Ancelotti. So the report saying that they already talked between Anthony Iriola, formerly of Bournemouth. Of course, he confirmed in April that he'll be leaving this team of Bournemouth at the end of the season. So the Premier League season has kind of ended, and it remains to be seen who Liverpool will be signing in to come and replace sacked coach. I'm talking about Ancelotti. Of course, Ancelotti signed a 2 year contract at Team Liverpool. Of course, in his first season at Liverpool, he won for them the Premier League trophy. And this season round, things never really went on his way, and he finishes fifth. He finished the season on a very low load. He finished the season on the fifth position. It's a position that Liverpool is not much all that guaranteed of, but he already assigned them what we call a Champions League spot. Of course, 5 teams will be picked from the Premier League. Of course, Arsenal reached into the semi-finals of the Champions League and into the finals of the Champions League. So that clearly means that Arsenal has already guaranteed a spot for team Liverpool to go and play their games in the Champions League come next season. And Liverpool are saying they want a Premier League experienced coach to come and guide them in that Pacific. So Anthony Iriola is the coach that Liverpool is said to be looking at the end of maybe to come and succeed. This guy I'm talking about, Ancelotti at Liverpool. Of course, the already other candidate that has been lined up, but the biggest or the favorite one is Anthony Iriola of Bournemouth. Of course, Liverpool had got eyes on Stuttgart coach. I'm talking about Sebastian Hunes. Of course, they talked about him. Of course, Real Madrid played the games in Germany, so they wanted to sign this guy to come and maybe take charge at Anfield, but it appears on paper that Anthony Iriola is the favorite. They also talked about Lens, actual tactician. I'm talking about the Lens tactician. I'm talking about Pierre Sagi. They also talked about him. Of course, the Liverpool also wanted to sign him, but the two men that I've just given you, Pierre Sagi and Sebastian, are unlikely to come at Anfield. Favorite one is only Anthony Iriola, former of Bournemouth, who has confirmed officially at the end of the season when Bournemouth played against Crystal Palace that he'll be quitting his managerial role at FC Bournemouth. So finally, Liverpool without Ancelotti. So it remains to be seen how this will be transforming Liverpool in the new era and a new tactician. I'm talking about Anthony Iriola, but this is going to be one of the challenging actual jobs for him. We have seen coaches coming in at Liverpool. Rafa Benitez was in there. This other coach who was formerly at at Rogers. Yes, I'm talking about Rogers, who was formerly at Leicester City. All these coaches came into that at the helm of at Anfield, but I can tell you they really never lived to the billion at Anfield. So can Anthony Iriola manage the pressure at Anfield? Of course, we know Liverpool is not all that so much demanding, but of late we've seen the fans of Liverpool being so much demandful. They want to see success actually at Anfield. Liverpool want to become more of Manchester United. They want to become more of Chelsea. That's what I can be important to tell you currently. That's the reason as to why the sacked. Of course, I'm talking about Ancelotti. Of course, they are kind of result oriented. That's the reason as to why the sacked Ancelotti. So it remains to be seen how this guy will be performing in Anfield. Of course, that is Ariola for you. Okay, so he is still only 43 years old, very very young. But I think if he comes into the team of Liverpool without pressure, definitely he will be having what we call good times in there. Of course, this is going to be something that is going to be so much positive for him. Of course, leaving a team in the step of Bournemouth, coming into Liverpool, that is a step forward for a coach of his caliber. Of course, he is one of the modern coaches currently in Europe. Of course, tactically he's very okay. His game reading is very okay, and he's that kind of coach who likes that actually pressing kind of movement. And when you look at Ancelotti, he wanted to actually introduce that football at Anfield. But I can tell you, Anthony Iriola, when you look at some of the similarities that he has, there's no difference. There's no difference between him and Jurgen Klopp, former of Liverpool. But I think if he comes into the helm of Liverpool, tactically he will be actually adding some spice in that team of Liverpool. Of course, tactically you realize that Ancelotti was not all that good enough at Liverpool, but I think a coach of his caliber is going to be one of the biggest one for Team Liverpool. To me, the pressure is going to be from the fans, but if the fans don't give him that pressure or that, probably you could be seeing Antonio Rella succeeding at Liverpool. But if the pressure starts coming in, if the rest don't come on his way, definitely you'll be finding him out to find it very, very hard at that team of Liverpool. So it remains to be seen how this will be transferred. But when you look at Liverpool under Ancelotti, this team spend a lot of money, around 415 million pounds. This is the money that Liverpool spent in the summer last season, and they brought in a number of players into the books of Liverpool. One of the most notable was signing Alexander Isak from Newcastle for a fee in the region of around 125 million pounds. They also signed a player in the names of Florian Wirtz from Germany, from Bayer Leverkusen, for a region of around 160 million pounds. This Bama monies, and with this, Liverpool finishes the season in the fifth position. That is something that is kind of knocking really. Of course, with the spend that Liverpool had in the last transfer market, they were a team that actually everyone thought needed to come in and probably make statements in the Premier League, probably maybe give challenges to Manchester City, give challenges to Arsenal. But unfortunately, the team, with all this money they spend in the transfer market last season, the team finishes so deep in the fifth position. That is something that has caught the attention of Liverpool legends. That's something that has caught the attention of Liverpool fans. Okay, but when you look at the CV of Anthony Iriola, of course, when he was still an active player, he was playing as a right back for Spain, and he had got a majority of actually his playing career at Atletico Bilbao. That's where he actually played a number of games in that team, and then when he went into management, he actually coached a team in the step of AEK Lanika down in Cyprus. That's where he became known into the game of coaching. Then before that, he had spells in Mirandes, not forgetting Rio Volcano in that perspective before he joined FC Bournemouth in 2023 in that perspective. Okay, these are some of the stories that I felt like I need to let you know in Anfield. Now, at according to Michael Owen, Okay, before I give you the transfer market, the transfer gossip in the transfer market, according to Michael Owen, he thinks they are 3 contenders for the Premier League trophy in 2026-2027 season. So out of this, he snaps away Liverpool for the Premier League race in 2026-2027 season. So according to Michael Owen, these are not my words. He thinks either Manchester City or Manchester United will be winning the Premier League trophy, one of the Manchester clubs. But when I was actually following his interview, he said the most favorite club that he thinks will be winning the 2026-2027 Premier League season could be Manchester United. He thinks under Michael Carrick, he has done something that no manager has done actually at Manchester United before. Manchester United changed a number of coaches in there. I don't want to mention them, of course, we all know them. But the thing is, Michael Carrick, with the short space that he has spent at Manchester United, he has done a tremendous work at Manchester United. So he thinks Manchester United will be winning the Premier League come next season. Of course, Manchester United are going to be spending so much big in the transfer market. Of course, they already talked about big name signings, so it remains to be seen how this will be doing in favor of Manchester United. So he thinks Manchester United will be winning the Premier League trophy. If not Manchester United, then he thinks it should be Manchester City. But he snapped away Arsenal away from that. Of course, Arsenal in their history has never defended the Premier League trophy. That's Arsenal for you. Of course, they were the champions of 2025 season, but it remains to be seen whether Arsenal can be in position to defend the Premier League trophy. Of course, they went up to the Champions League final. They were ejected by Paris Saint-Germain into the penalty shootouts. Of course, they were beaten 4-3 on penalty shootouts. That's the Arsenal Football Club. So it remains to be seen whether the team can be in position to do what we call defend the Premier League trophy. The team has got all the artilleries, the team has got all the powers to defend the Premier League trophy. So it remains to be seen how this will be transforming things at Premier League. Of course, when you look at the Premier League actual current coaches, you realize that on paper, Mikel Arteta seems to be the favorite with what he's having at hand at that team of Arsenal. Michael Carrick comes in, and then Enzo Maresca at Manchester City is in. Then at Liverpool, they already talked about Antonio Areola, of course. Then at Chelsea, they already talked about Xabi Alonso. So it remains to be seen who will be winning this. But if you ask my personal opinion about this, I would really suggest that it's either Arsenal or it's Manchester United that I think will be winning the Premier League come 2026-2027 season because of what I have seen. Of course, Xabi Alonso is still new into the Premier League. Then Anthony Riola is going to Liverpool. He has to go in probably comes into them. I have got maybe has to go in probably working on the dressing room issues that actually created at Liverpool. Then this coach I'm talking about, Enzo Maresca at Manchester City, he has to do a lot of work to see that he actually makes his name into the history book of Manchester City. Of course, Pep Guardiola actually left a very big actual task for him, and that legacy that Pep Guardiola has left at Manchester City is going to be a mountain actual thing to climb for Enzo Maresca. So these are going to be some of the challenges, but I think with Mikel Arteta and Michael Carrick, with the current situation that they're in, they have already understood the challenges and the needs of the current team. But I'm backing up them to be my favorites to win the Premier League trophy. Okay, this is some of my personal opinions about the thing that I think will be making headlines in the. And then Pep Guardiola said the coach that will be coming in at Manchester City needs to come with his own uniqueness. Of course, the coach that comes in needs not to come in probably copy and paste what he has done at Manchester City. He thinks that the coach that comes in needs to come with his own ideology, needs to come with his own philosophy and his own style of play. And I want to see that uniqueness in that team of Manchester City. That those issues of copy and paste, I can tell you, Manchester United fans can testify to you that, and Manchester United players can also testify to you that that's the reason so Manchester United has been suffering in a number of years. And Michael Carrick came in with a unique character at Manchester United, and his philosophy kind of helped them to finish third in the Premier League trophy. In the Premier League history, something that was kind of very much remarkable in his CV at Manchester United. So Enzo Maresca has got a number of things to actually to perform in that perspective. So it remains to be seen how this will be working out at Manchester City. Okay. Into the world of transfers, the biggest one is Aston Villa winger. I'm talking about Morgan Rogers is attracting interest from a number of teams, including Arsenal and Real Madrid, not forgetting Paris Saint-Germain, who are the current holders of the Champions League. Of course, they defended smartly. Of course, they already talked about him being linked to Paris Saint-Germain. So it remains to be seen which club will be vying out for that. Of course, Real Madrid also interested in Arsenal midfield. I'm talking about Declan Rice, and Liverpool also their group. I'm talking about Alisson also wants to force a move away at Anfield. Of course, these are some of the headlines making it in the transfer market. Those are the biggest headlines in the transfer market. But let me first break for you some of the updates in the transfer market. Of course, Arsenal, but I'm talking about Mikel Arteta set actually his sights on Aston Villa's England wing. I'm talking about Morgan Rogers, who is 23 years and is said to be have got bids for the player to see that he also defend the Premier League actors, such as although Champions League winners, I'm talking about Paris Saint-Germain, are also interested in the services of Morgan Rogers. I can tell you Morgan Rogers had a successful season with Aston Villa, and this is one of the biggest actual opportunities for him to go and find actually a better option to go and play in a Champions League spot. Of course, the team Aston Villa will not be playing in the Champions League, and a player of his quality, a player of his caliber, if a big opportunity come for him, probably this could be the perfect opportunity for him to quit Aston Villa and go and make money, and also go and make actual history for him, for himself. Of course, when you look at his contribution for team Aston Villa, his contribution has been so immense. He has scored a number of crucial games for crucial goals for the team, and his contribution as well has also added a number of contribution for Aston Villa in the Premier League. And to me, if he quits that team of Aston Villa, it is going to be something that I think is going to be some of a great importance to his name. Of course, he has done his actual he has done his part for the team. He has played so consistently in the Premier League for Aston Villa, and he has been one of the standard performance for team Aston Villa. But I think leaving out this team is going to be a big one. And money-wise, the club that are talking about his services, this is a club that has got a lot of money. But I think if he goes out, definitely Aston Villa will also be reaping big from his sale. But I think when clubs in Europe start talking about your services, what it means you are doing something very, very pivotal in that theme. So quitting Aston Villa is going to be, to me, one of the biggest thing for Morgan Rogers. Okay, at that team of Real Madrid, key figures at Real Madrid have sent actually recruitment team into the transfer market, and they're saying that they wanted to pursue the services of Arsenal midfielder. I'm talking about Declan Rice, having been impressed by the team's actual performance in the Champions League, of course, in the Champions League and the Premier League. Of course, his leadership and his physicality, not forgetting his technicalities, have been spotted by Real Madrid. And Jose Felix Mourinho needs that kind of players who are kind of very, very workaholic. That's why I was telling you, he said he needs players who can be an all-rounder player at that team of Real Madrid. So Jose Felix Mourinho started his things, and he is already plotting the 27-year-old Arsenal superstar. I'm talking about Declan Rice. So it remains to be seen how this will be actually moving forward into the transfer market. Of course, Arsenal and Real Madrid have been having a unique actually business with Real Madrid in the transfer market. You have seen them actually exchanging players, Santi Cazorlas of this world, Mesut Ozil of this world, the Martin Odegaard of this world. This is some of the players that Arsenal has kind of got from Real Madrid. So it remains to be seen whether Real Madrid can be important to pursue the services of Declan Rice from Arsenal Of course, in case he quits Arsenal, Arsenal will be actually losing a big name player in the actual books. Of course, his contribution for the team has been much immense in that perspective. Of course, Liverpool goalkeeper, I'm talking about Ansel 33, plans to tell the new manager that will be coming in that he wants to end his time at Liverpool and he wants to join Juventus. This is according to Gazzetta dello Sport down in Italy. These are some of the stories making headlines in there. The Manchester United are close in on an agreement to sign a Brazilian midfielder. I'm talking about Emerson, 26 from Atalanta, for a fee of a region for a fee of around 35 million pounds. This is according to the team talk in England, and they already talked about this guy coming into Manchester United very very soon. The deal is done. It's only the player actually come into contract with Manchester United, and that's coming to sign his contract. The deal is being done. It's already been done between Manchester United and Atalanta, and the player to player deal is done. And what's only remaining is the medical actual process. So it's still down to Manchester United to agree with the player. When are you supposed to come for your medication? For your medical test to see that he signed officially for Manchester United before the team sets off for precisions in July in there. And then Portugal actually midfield, I'm talking about Paulina Tate, does not actually want to make his loan move from Bayern to Spurs on a permanent one, and he will try to engineer a move to Sporting instead. This is according to Ebola in Portugal. Of course, Manchester United, the Chelsea, and the team I'm talking about, Arsenal, not forgetting Tottenham Hotspur, Liverpool, Newcastle, are all interested in AC Milan's Portuguese winger. I'm talking about Rafael Leo, who is keen on leaving San Siro this summer. This is according to Calcio Mercato down in Italy. Then Paris Saint-Germain have cool their interest in Atletico forward. I'm talking about Julian Alvarez, but the 26-year-old Argentina international is still on the radar of Arsenal and Barcelona. This is according to Mundo Deportivo in Spain. But I can tell you, this player I'm talking about, Julian Alvarez, ever since actually he made that move from Manchester City to Atletico Madrid, he has enjoyed himself at team Atletico Madrid. He has been the darling at that team of Atletico Madrid. He has found peace. He has found playing time. He has found everything. He has won trophies at Manchester City. Definitely, he also wants to win trophies at Barcelona. If he wants to win trophies at Barcelona, yes, it could be a good one for him. But if he wants to more of money kind of setups, what you have to do is stay with that team of Atletico Madrid. Of course, they paying him a lucrative money at Atletico Madrid. But I think his move to Barcelona is going to be down to money, and Barcelona will be giving Benzema is equally going to be there to see that they also give him the money. Then the Manchester defender, I'm talking about Harry Maguire, is also being offered to Inter Milan, but the Italian club do not want to see the 3-year-old Englishman as their Italia. These are some of the stories making headlines in that perspective. My time is up. I need to quit the studio and go for lunch. Bye bye for now.